The day after Auburn falls to Arkansas in the SEC opener, it is a brand new Village Vice. A little different look to the show this week because, quite frankly, why not try to change something up? She's Taylor Korn. I'm Brad Law. And TK, another game that is spoiled by turnovers. And really, we'll get into the particulars, but turnovers and the worst timing for penalties that you can imagine. And at the end of the day, Auburn is 0-1. I kind of want to say up front that no 1 week has had anything to do with the next week or the last week so far this year. And so projecting now Oklahoma 0-2, 1-1, this, that, or the other I don't think makes a lot of sense for Sunday. So I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot until we get a little closer to it. But this was another opportunity for Auburn to get a win that it just didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were there.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying because it's going from, and I think that something that's brought up a lot, rightfully so, is, level of competition. You can't, and you told me this, which was something that was very helpful, I guess, 2 weeks ago, maybe on the Sunday Village Vice. You said, a lot of people say, you can't overreact to a win when people are saying you looked good, but you were playing Alabama A&M. When you lose, you also can't do the same thing. You can't overreact. But I do feel like this one was just a little different. And going into the game, there were a lot of people saying, this is a very much so needed win for both Auburn and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Because the schedule only gets harder.
Yeah, it was. And I think we went into this knowing that Arkansas was better in the middle of September than what we thought they would be back in the middle of August. I don't think anybody thought Arkansas would be as capable as they are. And even so, look, Auburn outgained Arkansas by 100 yards, and they did it on 20 fewer plays. So in some regards, and in a lot of ways, I think Auburn outplayed Arkansas. But as we all know, and nobody would try to claim otherwise, that really doesn't mean anything if you don't score the points, if you don't cash in, if you turn it over deep in the opponent's territory and all those things. So, yeah, to your point, you don't want to overreact to a loss. It's also, as we talk right now, it's 24 hours after. And so people are going to be emotional. When you think you're going to go 4-0 to start the season and have a nationally ranked, unranked Oklahoma game and potentially 5-0 and the big lights and the big spotlight and everything like that, and you're 2-2 instead, and you've now had games where neither quarterback performed well and gave you reason to doubt their ability to consistently perform this year. Don't care about last year. Don't care about high school. Don't care about any other stop they've made along the way. Unfortunately, now both quarterbacks have kind of given the coaches reason to not trust that they can do it consistently. And that's the number one thing that has to be corrected going forward, or it will be a very long year.
Well, my question to you in regards to that is, how much do you think the way that things have gone this season, not necessarily on field performance, but just, I guess that plays a role in Peyton Thorne being pulled, Hank Brown starting, this, that, and the other. But my concern, and it might not be a valid concern, but my concern with things like that is, how much does that impact the confidence of the quarterbacks? And that's not the major issue. There are underlying issues. There are bigger, and it's the execution. But do you think that knowing being pulled is likely, or not, I don't want to say likely, but you've seen it happen. Do you think that will make them go out there and play a little more timid? They're going to be hesitant and kind of looking over their shoulder? Or is that just part of the game and you have to get over that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Neither one of these guys was pulled after one interception.
Right.
or two interceptions. It's not like the leash. It's not like the coaches jerked the leash and pulled them off the road.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. Hank's opportunity came after a 4 interception game from Peyton, and Peyton got back in after a 3 interception half from Hank. So I think both those guys understand, and we talk about this with quarterbacks. No quarterback is blindsided by the demands of the job. Nobody's blindsided by the repercussions of, maybe not repercussions, the reactions. So it's cliche to say that they get too much credit when you win and they get too much blame when you lose. But they know that. And I think if a quarterback knows that he's struggling, he doesn't have to look over his shoulder for one bad decision. And so far, he hadn't had to look over his shoulder for 2 bad decisions. But I know the head coach was very emotional at halftime after 3 interceptions, and were too. And everybody, again, when your expectation is the creator of all fear and sadness and anger and all those negative emotions. When your expectation is to start a season 4-0 and you're sitting there at 2-2, or say on a week-to-week basis when your expectation is, all right, Hank's the guy now. He's immediately, as a redshirt freshman, going to roll out there and dominate the opponent. And I use that word on purpose because that was his expectation too. So he is also affected by that himself. He's not brushing it off. So when your expectation is one thing, and then the reality falls short of that expectation, man, it creates a lot of negative emotions. But in the quarterbacks, I don't think that they're worried about being pulled. I'll say this: if a quarterback's mentality is such that he's worried about being pulled from a game for a bad decision, he probably doesn't need to be in there to start with. And any successful quarterback would probably say the same.
Yeah, I agree. That is just something that's always in the back of my mind. Why? I don't really know. Probably because we've had this rotating quarterback issue for the past 2 seasons. So it's something that I think about.
This year's a little different too, though, Taylor. I think last year you had rotating quarterbacks early because they recognized that Robbie could run the ball well and thought that he might be a threat in the red zone. And it was a very different skill set. And so at different times in the game, they were using the 2 quarterbacks to try to take advantage of their different skill sets. I don't think we've seen that so far this year. They're just trying to find a guy who will consistently lead drives and not turn the ball over. And so I don't necessarily call this rotating quarterbacks. Yeah. I call it more just trying to find the guy. And, we can talk about they should have done this or they should have done that in the offseason. The fact of the matter is they didn't. So now they have 8 games to go this year to figure out who of the guys that they have at the position can go and do the job the best for the team.
And where do you go now? Because Hugh Freeze, after the New Mexico game, was and he said yesterday in the post-game press conference when someone asked about what do you do at the quarterback position moving forward? Someone asked, and his answer, I believe, was, I have no clue.
Yeah.
Because he's seen concerning things from both of them. So it's, where do you go from here?
Yeah. I like that answer too, because it was real. And, you sort of hear a lot from fans go, well, he's the head coach. He's supposed to know. All right. But right in the moment when you're kind of surprised too at the outcome of something that you expected to go very differently, do you immediately have the answer in the job that you're in? Most of the people watching probably wouldn't. They would probably need some time to come off the emotion and then lock in and go back to work and try to fix the problem. And that's what you do. I mean, they're off on Sunday. They'll go back at it on Monday. And I'm sure we'll learn a lot more in the press conference tomorrow, and then they'll work very hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, walk through Thursday to try to figure that out. But that's what you do. I mean, you're not going to sign a guy. It's not the NFL. It's not another sport where you can bring a guy in mid-season and give him a crack at the job. I think if we were going to see Holden Gariner or Walker White, you would have seen them in either the Cal or Arkansas games. So, you know, a bad outing, like Hank's still just a redshirt freshman. So a bad half in his first SEC game ever. I really hope we're not saddling him with a scarlet letter because of that half in the SEC game. At the same time, the coaches do have to figure out what the right decision is to try to win as many games as you can this season. So let's talk more about it after I tell everybody about Roback. Our time is flying on these shows already. We're deep into the show. Roback, they make really comfortable lounging gear. I'm in a Roback t-shirt right now. It's been great. Like my son and I went to church, we went to the movies, we went grocery shopping. We've just been hanging out, and this is the most comfortable t-shirt that I own. They also have great looking polos. They have outstanding hoodies and quarter zips. They have gear for men and women. So check out roback.com, RHOBACK, roback.com. Use our promo code VICE20, VICE20. You'll get 20% off. That's a huge savings at roback.com. Quality merchandise. You'll look and feel fantastic when you go to roback.com. Use our promo code VICE20. Taylor, a thing that frustrated me as much as watching the offense, because it's not just about the quarterbacks, but, you know, you continue to have fumbling issues. And, you know, right now the running backs are averaging 7 or so yards a carry. And so the inclination is to say, why don't we just, if you don't trust your quarterback, just run the ball more. Well, number one, defenses will start keying on that a little more if you don't attempt to be balanced still. But secondly, there's a fumble every 16 carries. So if you give your running backs 32 carries in a game, the numbers would say they'll fumble twice. So that's 2 possessions that you're throwing away. Do you voluntarily sign up for that? I don't know. And that's the really tough thing is, all right, if you don't trust your quarterbacks 100% and you don't trust your running backs to hold on to the ball 100%, that's major red flag territory.
Well, this seems like a new thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the running back room is not full of new guys. The guys that we expected coming into the season to rely on are not new. They're not freshmen, and they're not new to the program. And this was not happening last year, was it? Or have I blocked that from my memory? Like, what has changed?
Not to this rate. It wasn't happening. I mean, you talked about it a little bit with Jarquez, but again, this is a running, Peyton held on to the ball pretty well when he was a major factor of the running game. And remember, he was getting double-digit carries a lot of the time the second half of the season. So that's another element of this that complicates it. Is if you go with Peyton, does that mean a little more ball security in the running game? If it doesn't in the passing game, I don't know. And that's why I say I don't have the answer to that. And the coaches clearly are still trying to find the answer to that. But it's objectively, it's a pretty scary place to be when you don't have total trust. I mean, you believe in your guys or else you wouldn't put them on the field. You believe they're the best option. But if you're not 100% sure your quarterback is not going to throw it to the other team, and you're not 100% sure your running back's not going to put the ball on the ground, that's a real tough place as a play. What does Derek Nix call? What does Hugh Freeze put together as the game plan when the answer isn't very clear? All right, let's lean on this guy or that guy.
Yeah, it's a hard place to be in, and I think that was one of the things yesterday. Obviously, you don't want turnovers ever, but the defense, I mean, yes, they had an error here or there, but the defense gave Auburn a chance to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And they just couldn't stay off the field.
Yeah. The defense has given up under 350 yards in both of the losses so far. Now, Arkansas was able to do better in the second half than any opponent had done against the Auburn defense. My main issue, more than the third downs, were the 2 penalties. I mean, the 2 most critical penalties in the game kept touchdown drives going for Arkansas. It's and you've got them 3 and out on their very first possession of the game. You've got them 3 and out, and you have a late hit. pretty clear late hit. I also didn't think the officials were just a travesty yesterday. I thought there were some questionable calls, but I thought some of the ones that fans were upset about were right. The hit out of bounds on the first drive should never happen. Can't happen. Kept the drive. You had them 3 and out. And instead, they marched down the field. And I get, maybe they didn't score on that drive, but you know what? They had 11 and a half minutes of possession in the first quarter. 11 and a half minutes. And Auburn had it 3.5. And then on their very last touchdown drive, they ran it 10 plays in a row after a pass interference flag on 3rd and long and an incomplete pass that would have put them at 3 and out, and you get the ball back down 3. Now, who knows what happens offensively, but I know if you're down 3 and you've got almost the whole fourth quarter to go. Instead, at that point, I believe Sam Pittman told Bobby Petrino, if you throw another pass, I'm going to run you out of here. Just run the dang ball, because they ran it 10 straight plays. Their smallest running back was 230 pounds. And so they ran it 10 straight plays. And that defense that had been on the field for 12 more minutes than the offense, and in part because they were on the field for 11 and a half minutes in the first quarter, they just out of gas. Didn't have anything left for that drive. You could see it happening. And you're sitting there praying for Arkansas to throw the ball, because when they did that, you at least had a shot. But nope, they finally decided to run those big boys. And all that to say, those 2 penalties at critical points on the first drive of the game and then on the last touchdown drive for Arkansas, they extended those 2 drives by a combined, I don't know, like 20 plays. And I mean, yeah, the 3rd down conversions were rough. It's also part of Arkansas's identity. They're the best 3rd down team in the country statistically. So it's a strength of theirs. And it's not surprising that they had success on 3rd down, because they've done it all year so far. What was the most disappointing were those 2 penalties, because they added 20 or more plays. And as a result, Arkansas ran about 20 more plays than Auburn in the game.
It's a lot of self-inflicted stuff. And I mean, this is a game. Auburn beat themselves. They had every chance to win the game. And I sent something out on Twitter at the end of the second quarter going into halftime, and I was like, consider it a blessing that Auburn is only down by 1 touchdown right now, because it could have been way, way worse, especially going into half. But in terms of the rest of the season, you touched on this earlier, talking about, everyone's thinking that we're going to be 4-0 going into this game, maybe start the season and go into Athens undefeated 5-0. And that has obviously not happened. But what does this do for the rest of the season, to the morale of the team? The fans are obviously very unhappy. Yeah. If anyone has looked at Twitter or any sort of social media, you're well aware of that. But like, what do you do now? Where does this go? And how does this impact, I guess, the future of the program as a whole, recruits, seeing all the negativity on social media and stuff like that, which that's going to come along with any team. If they lose a game that they shouldn't or are performing poorly, there's going to be some negativity thrown around there. But how much do you think that recruits pay attention to that kind of stuff, and how much do you think that actually plays a role? Because yes, recruits want to play for a winning program. They want to win games. Everyone wants to win a game. But then there's also, you can kind of twist it into the silver lining of come and start. Come and be the guy that makes the difference. So where do you think their minds are in terms of how the season has started?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because some guys may see it one way and others see it the other way. It's all about, do you choose to look at it as a positive, or do you choose to look at the negative side of it? Because there are both. There are guys who know, I kind of think about the fan reaction, and especially the social media reaction this way. If you go to Comic-Con and you walk around Comic-Con and you kind of go inside all the different rooms and the exhibits and everything, then it would be very easy to think that everybody in the world dresses like Spider-Man and the characters of the Princess Bride, and like that's reality. And it's not. And so the social media isn't reality for all of the population. It's actually a pretty small percentage of the overall population. Doesn't mean that it's not real for the people expressing those opinions. All right. It just means that don't judge the entire population by the sample size that you see on social media. That's just not wise. Everybody's going to be emotional for a few days, and then hopefully, like I don't look at it, Taylor, as what about the rest of the season. I think you have to look at it in terms of Oklahoma. In terms of this week, the fact of the matter is that Oklahoma pulled their starting quarterback in a lackluster offensive effort against Tennessee. Tennessee's good. Tennessee's legitimately good. Their defense is very good. It gets overshadowed because of their offensive hype, but their defense is, I think, legit. And I think they're going to do that to a lot of teams. But the fact of the matter is that Oklahoma has injuries up front. They have injuries at wide receiver, and they're going to have a quarterback who is making probably his first start of the year when they come into Jordan-Hare Stadium. And so I don't ever try to, I probably did when I was younger and dumber, but I wouldn't try to tell fans now how they should think. I think they should think and express whatever emotion they want to think and express, but we do get to choose. And so after the frustration subsides or decreases a little bit early in the week, the hope would be that we make the decision to focus on, like we all have a choice. You can focus on positive things or you can focus on negative things. And you can feed positive or you can starve positive. You can feed negative or you can starve the negative. And at the end of the day, will you still be at Jordan-Hare Stadium? Will you still be loud? Will you still be, ready to see what will happen? Understanding that, as we said at the very beginning of the show, 1 week has had nothing to do with the week before it or the week after it so far this season. And there have been some really wild things throughout the SEC that have taken place in the first month of the year. We don't know what's going to happen Saturday. And that's really the only thing that matters at this point. We can project everything 10-2 to 2-10. We don't know. So I think it's wise to look at Oklahoma and try to figure it out 1 week at a time.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's hard to be logical sometimes. And
It's very hard.
I'm one of those. I'm a big overreactor. My emotions are out of control.
That's what happens, though, and it's why this fan base is the best in the country. Because if we didn't get this frustrated after a loss, then it would be a sign that we didn't care.
Right.
So just like people, Zach and I talked about this last week on Thursday. People complain about the color scheme and being told what to wear at games, and then they show up.
And it looked pretty good yesterday. I was not expecting it to work.
Yeah. It looked great because Auburn fans, at the end of the day, like they fuss and they fight. And it's like if you work in a restaurant and you're in the kitchen and you have kitchen talk and everybody fights with everybody and there's all kind of stuff said in the kitchen. And then when those doors swing open and the plates come out, you present your very best. And I think that's what'll happen. And that's what I expect to happen Saturday. For all the hand-wringing, I expect that Saturday, when Auburn comes through the tunnel, everybody in that stadium wearing orange and blue will expect them to go out and beat Oklahoma and get back on the right track. So hopefully that's what happens. That's that's kind of where we are, though. I think it's one game at a time. Auburn is not good enough yet to start projecting the rest of the season one way or the other. I think it's one level-headed week at a time.
Level-headed being the key word there.
Yeah, if that's possible. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for everybody.
It is. I'm trying to work on that because my mood and my attitude cannot be dependent on a college football game. And for some reason, that's where I find myself.
No, that's it. And when you are frustrated, look, go to church on Sunday, go to a movie, take a walk outside, and hopefully things are a little bit brighter after that. It's not your job to fix it.
Right.
It's mine. Your job is to talk about it. Their job is to fix it, and we'll just talk about the decisions they make. Speaking of talking about, all right, Barner Supply. Let me slide over here and get this koozie. BarnerSupply.com, proud sponsor of Village Vice. If you go to BarnerSupply.com and you order a hat and a koozie and put in promo code Village Vice, no spaces, just Village Vice all together, they will give you the koozie for free. You do have to put both in the cart though, and then apply the promo code Village Vice. Cost of the koozie goes to nothing, and you'll just pay for the hat, and you'll be glad that you did. Sharp looking hats, sharp looking shirts, high quality material, blue collar, hardworking Auburn people who say, you know what, the term Barner is not a negative thing. Don't try to use that as a negative. We're going to embrace it. And it means hardworking, blue collar, honest people. And so you're going to support some really outstanding folks and get some really outstanding looking gear when you go to BarnerSupply.com. Okay, Taylor. How do you feel any different now than you did a half hour ago, or are we still, or are the emotions still running a little high?
I was not nearly as distraught yesterday as I was after the Cal game. After the Cal game, I was spiraling out of control. Like, yeah. I could not shake it. I woke up on Sunday feeling ill over that. Yeah. Now I'm honestly just trying to not think about it as much as possible, because it doesn't do great things for me. But one thing I will say is, being in the post-game press conference, the players that they made available made me feel a little bit better for some reason. Yeah. Obviously, they were very upset and disappointed in the outcome of the game and the performance that we saw on the field. But some of the things that they said and their ability to have somewhat of a positive outlook of, we believe in each other. Yeah. We need to clean things up, and everyone is well aware of that, but we believe in each other. Yeah. And that's not going to change. Like, I think that just kind of warms my heart a little bit. And I was like, okay, if these guys that are younger than I am can be mature about this, then I need to learn to do the same thing as well. And obviously, I was still very upset, disappointed, heartbroken, distraught. But that made me feel a little bit better. And I feel better about it. I mean, it's just, you have to be logical, and I'm not. I'm trying to fix that. But talking about it with logical people definitely helps my mental state.
Well, Coach Freeze said something with us. Eating ice on a show is not a good idea. I didn't mean to do that. It just kind of slipped in there. One of Coach Freeze's last thing on the radio post-game interview last night, he said, a lot of people are talking about staying together. And he sounded disgusted that was a talking point. He said, man, that's what you do. Like, you don't have to be told to do that. That's just what you do. And he sounded like he had a little more of an edge to him. And I can't help but wonder if maybe there's a little more edge in practice this week, if there's a little more edge to the players on game day. I wonder if that's not, look, I'm not a coach. I wouldn't try to tell them what they need to do. But, if you're making the same mistakes over and over again, what's the fix to that? Is it's not, it's not that they don't care. It's not that they're not working hard. It's not that they've not been told or they've tried, or, it's none of that like surface level stuff. I don't know what the answer is. I just can't help but wonder if you see a little more like intensity from the coaching staff this week as they get ready for Oklahoma. We'll see.
We'll see. I would not want to be one of the people that's responsible for trying to fix what's going on right now.
Yeah. Well, what we know is that it's not, contrary to this, the term dumpster fire is a popular social media term. And it's one of the reasons I say social media is not real life. It's not actually a dumpster fire. You very well should be 4-0 right now, but you're not. And then there's not a dang thing you can do about it except go right back to work and try to beat Oklahoma. Not try to salvage an 8-4 season. That's not the goal. Not try to avoid a losing season. That's not the goal. The goal is to go beat Oklahoma. That's it. There are no other goals than that. That's where you are at this point. And we all want, and we all know, we all remember, we, at different stages of our fandom, we remember Auburn to be something different. We remember Auburn as a national title contender or a national title winner or a team that locked people down defensively or running back you. Or right now, where Auburn is in this rebuild, they're a 1 week at a time team. No more. You will not hear it from me the rest of the year with you or with Zach talk about records and things like that and what the projections will be the rest of the year. It's 1 game at a time. That's where you are right now with this build. So we'll go out and see if they're better next week.
Yeah, I hope. I really hope so. And for the sake of the players too, because that is not fun for them.
Yeah. And I do think that impacts recruiting. I think you need to win games. I think this highly regarded recruiting class will help you win more games in the future, but to hang on to all of them, I do think at the end of the year, you're really way off where you thought you'd be. That might impact them, but we're so far away from there. There's no, that's where I go back to, all right, we could choose to focus on that if we want to, or we could choose to focus our effort and energy in other places. And that's just the choice we'll all make. So, hey, the great thing is, Taylor, you could talk about it at thebarnauburn.com, this newest message board community, and it is red hot right now. You try it out for just $1 for the first month. You get recruiting info, tidbits and news and notes, and really great conversation at thebarnauburn.com. So check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, I love that place.
It's a place to go commiserate. It's group therapy.
Yes.
Or it's like a smash room. It's a verbal smash room.
Oh, my mom, after the Cal loss, my mom was like, do you want me to sign you up to go to one of those places where you can just break things? Because I'm a little bit concerned about you right now. I was like, that might not be the worst idea. After last night, no one in my family texted me. They knew better at this point. They just said, just let her cool off before anyone speaks to her.
Yeah. Next time Barstool does one of their tours, they should have a smash room set up along with their gigantic stage. And that'd be a huge moneymaker for fans if they would do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, thanks for this group therapy session. Hope everybody has enjoyed it. Taylor, let's talk about what all you guys have coming up on the next round this week, if you would.
Yeah, so we are scheduled to have Peyton Thorne on Tuesday. He took last week off, and he's scheduled to be with us Tuesday. As of right now, I don't foresee that changing, but who knows? And then next weekend, we will have boots on the ground in Tuscaloosa for the Alabama-Georgia game, as well as I'll be back in Auburn for Auburn-Oklahoma. And then we're doing a live show from Tuscaloosa on Friday, actually. Our daily show will be live from the Strip in Tuscaloosa, which should be a scene.
Of course you are. Of course the next round is going to be live in Tuscaloosa for the Georgia-Alabama game. No, that's great. We look forward to that. Thank you for doing this today. And look, I think we're going to have a better tone next Sunday because 1 week has nothing to do with the next. And we'll look forward to that. Until then, thanks everybody for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting on the video. We'll read every one of those and get ready for a brand new week. And remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.